All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, new listeners and current listeners from all around the world. Thank you for joining us on this show today. From all around the world, including Canada, areas of Long Island, the USA, and the five boroughs of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your host with the most, G Money Stacks, aka Lonely Nomad, aka The Gregonator, aka Rookie Podcaster of Queens, New York. And you are now tuning in and listening to Off the Meatrack Chainz NY podcast, episode 31. All right. 31. We're just getting started. Now, I want to give an applause for the biggest accomplishment that we had so far. Here we go. Hang on. Let me do that again. If you are new to the channel and a new listener, and you missed any previous episodes whatsoever, don't worry, I got you. All you gotta do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, G Money Stacks 555. Click the notification bell so you can be reminded of when the podcast goes on the air live, along with upcoming episodes, previous recorded episodes, more video content. After the recording, it'll automatically post to the YouTube page. And also, don't forget to leave a comment along with the topics of the episodes. And also, don't forget to share the podcast along with the audio streaming platforms, which I will go over at the end of the show, with your friends. Now, if you would like to be a guest on the show, whether you are a singer, rapper, Black-owned trendsetter that has a business, radio personality, podcast host that has a show like myself, along with any other career fields whatsoever, along with a chain letter, if you want advice to be read on the air, you could email the show at offthemeatrackchainsnypodcast@gmail.com. That's offthemeatrackchainsnypodcast@gmail.com. Now, before we even get into some funny news, this is a segment that I haven't done in a very long time, and this segment is called New York Mass Transit Files. Basically, it's a segment that I introduced previously in regards to, what's going on behind the scenes as far as, mass transit, as far as, what's going on with the trains, buses, and all these incidents that I've been hearing. But in this case, we have a Times Square slashing. And can you believe this is like been happening almost every week? Like, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. And I'm sorry, I had to do it. Because what I'm about to read to you from the New York Post regarding the Times Square slashing, has to do with what went down inside the Times Square subway train station. So here we go. Here we go right here. So according to the New York Post, Surveillance footage released of suspect in Times Square subway slashing. Oh boy. So listen to this. Cops released surveillance footage early Thursday of the suspect who allegedly slashed a 35-year-old man in the Times Square subway station. The 35-year-old victim was sitting on a bench at the southbound 1, 2, and 3 train platform around 8:50 a.m. when a man joined by a woman approached and started speaking to him, police said. The victim took out his earbuds and asked, "Are you talking to me?" Police said. The suspect then spat on the victim and slashed him on the left side of his face with a scalpel, causing a severe cut, according to authorities. The victim was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in stable condition. The attacker took off and he is shown on surveillance footage walking with the woman through the station. Good gosh. The suspect is described as in his 20s and around 6 feet tall. The incident came more than an hour after a female train service operator was pushed and punched in the same station without provocation, cops said. Oh boy. This is crazy. And I must say this though. I want to say this. How many times I hear about subway slashings all the time? Believe me, this is not the first time this has been happening. I would have to really say that this is just plain crazy to me. And I'm not really liking the idea of a person, trying to do harm to people. Like, what is that about? And like I previously said in the previous episode, and you wonder why a lot of people are not comfortable being being on subway trains right now. It has nothing to do with ridership being down. It has to do with the harassment and it has to do with these slashings. I'm sorry to bring this up, but until otherwise, there's cops in every train station to watch random people who have a scalpel, knife, whatever it takes. Just do better, MTA. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying on that one right there. Now, with that being knocked down, we will finally go to chatting all the jazz. Each week we talk about topics that catches our interest, right? Now, before we even get to that, I would like to discuss a mental health check-in subject, which is very common to me that I've been hearing over the years, whether it's in movies, TV shows, real life. I mean, you just name it. And this has to do with the word schizophrenia. And for those of you who may not know what schizophrenia is, I will fill you in on this one. So here we go. Schizophrenia is a chronic, severe mental disorder that affects the way a person thinks, acts, expresses emotions, perceives reality, and relates to others. Though schizophrenia isn't as common as other major mental illnesses, it can be most chronic and disabling. People with schizophrenia often have problems doing well in society, at work, at school, and in relationships. They might feel frightened and withdrawn and could appear to have lost touch with reality. This lifelong disease can't be cured, but can be controlled with proper treatment. Contrary to popular belief, schizophrenia is not a split or multiple personality. Schizophrenia involves a psychosis, a type of mental illness in which a person can't tell what's real from what's imagined. At times, people with psychotic disorders lose touch with reality. The world may seem like a jumble of confusing thoughts, images, and sounds. Their behavior may be very strange and even shocking. A sudden change in personality and behavior, which happens when people who have it lose touch with reality, is called a psychotic episode. Wow. Learn something new every day, huh? Okay. How severe schizophrenia is varies from person to person. Some people have only one psychotic episode, while others have many episodes during a lifetime, lead relatively normal lives in between. Still, others may have more trouble functioning over time, with little improvement between full blown psychotic episodes. Schizophrenia symptoms seems to worsen and improve in cycles known as relapses and remissions. What are the early symptoms of schizophrenia, you ask? The condition usually shows its first signs in men in their late teens or early 20s. It mostly affects women in their early 20s and 30s. The period when symptoms first start and before full psychosis is called the prodromal period. It can last days, weeks, or even years. It can be hard to spot because there's usually no specific trigger. You might only notice subtle behavioral changes, especially in teens. And this includes a change in grades, social withdrawal, trouble concentrating, temps flare, and difficulty sleeping. Now, positive symptoms of schizophrenia. In this case, the word positive doesn't mean good. It refers to added thoughts or actions that aren't based in reality. They are sometimes called psychotic symptoms and can include delusions. These are false, mixed, and sometimes strange beliefs that aren't based in reality and that the person refuses to give up, even when shown the facts. For example, a person with delusions may believe that people can hear their thoughts, that they are God or the devil, or that people are putting thoughts into their head or plotting against them. Hallucinations. These involve sensations that aren't real. Hearing voices is the most common hallucination in people with schizophrenia. The voices may comment on the person's behavior, insult them, or give commands. Less common types include seeing things that aren't there, smelling strange odors, having a funny taste in your mouth, and feeling sensations on your skin even though Nothing is touching your body. Catatonia. In this condition, the person may stop speaking and their body may be fixed in a single position for a very long time. Okay. Disorganized symptoms of schizophrenia. These are positive symptoms that show that the person can't think clearly or respond as expected. Examples include talking in sentences that don't make sense or using nonsense words, making it difficult for the person to communicate or hold a conversation. Shifting quickly from one thought to the next without obvious or logical connections between them. Moving slowly. Being able to make decisions. Writing excessively but without meaning. Forgetting or losing things. Repeating movements or gestures, like pacing or walking in circles. Having problems making sense of everyday sights, sounds, and feelings. Hold on, folks. Okay. Cognitive symptoms of schizophrenia. The person will have trouble understanding information and using it to make decisions. A doctor might call this poor executive functioning. Okay. Focusing or paying attention. Using the information immediately after learning it. This is called working memory. Recognizing that they have any of these problems. Negative symptoms of schizophrenia. The word negative here doesn't mean bad. It notes the absence of normal behaviors in people with schizophrenia. Negative symptoms of schizophrenia include lack of emotion or a limited range of emotions, withdrawal from family, friends, and social activities, less energy, speaking less, lack of motivation, loss of pleasure or interest in life, poor hygiene and grooming habits. Okay, you wondering what causes schizophrenia, you ask? The exact cause of schizophrenia isn't known, but like cancer and diabetes, excuse me, schizophrenia is a real illness with a biological basis. Researchers have uncovered a number of things that appear to make someone more likely to get schizophrenia, including genetics, that's heredity, whatever. Schizophrenia can run in families, which means a greater likelihood to have schizophrenia may be passed on from parents to their children. That sucks. Brain chemistry and circuits. People with schizophrenia may be able to regulate brain chemicals called neurotransmitters that control certain pathways or circuits or of nerve cells that affect thinking and behavior. Brain abnormality. Research has found abnormal brain structure in people with schizophrenia, but this doesn't apply to all people with schizophrenia. It can affect people without the disease. Interesting. Environment. Things like viral infections, exposure to toxins like marijuana, or highly stressful situations may trigger schizophrenia in people whose genes make them more likely to get the disorder. Schizophrenia more often surface when the body is having pneumono and physical changes, like those happen during the teen and young adult years. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, here we go. Where did I leave off? Oh, who gets schizophrenia, you ask? Anyone can get schizophrenia. It affects people all over the world, from all races and cultures. While it can be at any age, schizophrenia typically first appears in the teenage years or early 20s. The disorder affects men and women equally, although symptoms generally appear earlier in men. The earlier the symptoms start, the more severe the illness tends to be. Children over the age of 5 can have schizophrenia, but it's rare before adolescence. Now, how is schizophrenia diagnosed, you ask? If symptoms of schizophrenia are present, the doctor will perform a complete medical history and sometimes a physical exam. Where there are no laboratory tests to specifically diagnose schizophrenia, the doctor may use various tests and possibly blood tests or brain imaging studies to rule out another physical illness or intoxication, substance induced psychosis as the cause of the symptoms. If the doctor finds no physical reason for schizophrenia symptoms, they may refer the person to a psychiatrist or psychologist, mental health professionals trained to diagnose and treat mental illnesses. Um, physic- excuse me, psychiatrists and psychologists use specifically designed interviews and assessment tools to evaluate a person for a psychotic disorder. The therapist bases their diagnosis on the person's and the family's report of symptoms and their observation of the person's attitude and behavior. A person is diagnosed with schizophrenia if they have at least 2 of these symptoms for at least 6 months. Delusions, hallucination, disorganized speech, disorganized or catatonic behavior, negative symptoms. One of the symptoms has to be delusions, hallucination, and disorganized speech. All right. During the 6 months, the person must have a month of active symptoms. It can be less with successful treatment. Symptoms should negatively affect them socially or at work and can't be caused by any other condition. How is schizophrenia treated, you ask? Well, listen to this. The goal of schizophrenia treatment is to ease the symptoms and to cut the chances of a relapse or return of symptoms. Treatment for schizophrenia may include medications. The primary medications used to treat schizophrenia are called antipsychotics. These drugs don't cure schizophrenia, but help relieve the most troubling symptoms, including delusions, hallucinations, and thinking problems. All right. Older, commonly referred to as first generation antipsychotic medications used include chlorpromazine, flufenazine, prolixin, haloperidol, halidol, oxylapine, loxapine, perfenazine, trilithon, Navine, stelazine. Newer atypical or second generation drugs used to treat schizophrenia includes Abilify, Aristata, Sapphiris, Resulti, Virela, Clozero, Fanapt, Caplita, Latuda, Zyprexa, Invega Sustena, Invega Trinza, Seroquel, Risperdal, Girodon. Okay, now that I got those things out the way, note, clozapine is the only FDA-approved medication for treating schizophrenia that is resistant to other treatments. It's also used to lessen suicidal behaviors in those with schizophrenia who are at risk. Coordinated specialty care. This is a team approach toward treating schizophrenia when the first symptoms appear. It combines medicine and therapy with social services, employment, and educational interventions. The family is involved as much as possible. Early treatment is key to helping patients lead a normal life. Psychosocial therapy. While medication may help relieve symptoms of schizophrenia, various psychosocial treatments can help with the behavioral, psychological, social, and occupational problems that go with the illness. Through therapy, patients also can learn to manage their symptoms, identify early warning signs of relapse, and come up with a relapse prevention plan. Psychosocial therapies include rehabilitation, which focus on social skills and job training to help people with schizophrenia function in the community and live as independently as possible. Cognitive remediation, which involves learning techniques to make up for problems with information processing. It often uses drills, coaching, and computer-based exercises to strengthen mental skills that involve attention, memory, planning, and organization. Okay. Individual psychotherapy, which can be the person better understand their illness and learn coping and problem solving skills. Family therapy, which can help families deal with a loved one who has schizophrenia, enabling them to better help their loved one. Group therapy, support groups, which can provide continual mutual support. Hospitalization. Many people with schizophrenia may be treated as outpatients, but hospitalization may be the best option for people with severe symptoms who might harm themselves or others who can't take care of themselves at home. All right. Electroconvulsive therapy. In this procedure, electrodes are attached to the person's scalp while they are asleep under general anesthesia. Doctors send a small electric shock to the brain. A course of ECT therapy usually involves 2 to 3 treatments per week for several weeks. Each shock treatment causes a controlled seizure. A series of treatments over time leads to improvements in mood and thinking. Sorry about the plane, folks. I can't control that. As long as you can hear me, that's what matters. Um, a series of treatments over time leads to improvement in mood and thinking. Scientists don't fully understand exactly how ECT and the controlled seizures it causes help, but some researchers think ECT-induced seizures may affect the release of neurotransmitters in the brain. ECT is less well proven to help with schizophrenia than depression or bipolar disorder. So it isn't used very often when mood symptoms are absent. It can help when medications no longer work or if severe depression or catatona makes treating the illness difficult. Oh boy. Researchers are looking at a procedure called deep brain stimulation to treat schizophrenia. Doctors surgically implant electrodes that stimulate certain brain areas believed to control thinking and perception. DBS is an established treatment for severe Parkinson's disease and essential tremor, but it's still experimental for treatment for psychiatric disorders. Hold on. Let's see how much time we got here. All right. Are people with schizophrenia dangerous, you ask? Popular books and movies often depict people with schizophrenia and other mental illnesses as dangerous and violent. This usually isn't true. Most people with schizophrenia are not violent. More typically, they prefer to withdraw and be left alone. When people with mental illness do take part in dangerous or violent behaviors, it's generally, a result of their psychosis and the fear that they are being threatened in some way by their surroundings. Drug or alcohol can make it worse. That's a fact. On the other hand, people with schizophrenia can be a danger to themselves. Suicide is the top cause of premature death among people with schizophrenia. What is the outlook for people with schizophrenia, you ask? With proper treatment, most people with schizophrenia can lead productive and fulfilling lives. Depending on how severe the condition is and how well they get and stick with treatment. They should be able to live with their families or in community settings rather than in long-term psychiatric hospitals. Ongoing research on the brain and how brain disorders happen will likely lead to more effective medicines with fewer side effects. And last but not least, can schizophrenia be prevented? There's no known way to prevent schizophrenia, but early diagnosis and treatment can help avoid or ease frequent relapses and hospitalizations and help cut the disruption to the person's life, family, and relationships. All right. If you'd like to learn more about schizophrenia, all you gotta do is go to www.webmd.com/schizophrenia/mental health. That's www.webmd.com/schizophrenia/mental health. All right. We are going to go to the next topic I want to talk about is all right. All right, let's go with this. Let's go with this. All right. So Dave Chappelle, along with Talib Kweli and Mos Def, have a new podcast called Midnight Miracle. And this is what it says in Cincinnati.com/story and entertainment. It goes like this. The podcast was recorded at Chappelle's 2020 summer camp in Yellow Springs, a small village located near Dayton. The podcast hinted that notable friends would stop by to share old stories and make new memories. Guests featured on an Instagram post include Mo Amer, Radio Raheem, Donnell Rawlings, Questlove, Chris Rock, Jarobi Wright, John Hamm, and Lamorne Morris. Chappelle grew up and still resides in Yellow Springs. During the coronavirus pandemic, Chappelle hosted outdoor, socially distant comedy shows at nearby War Ring Pavilion. In December, the Yellow Springs News reported Chappelle's company, Iron Table Holdings, plans to open a comedy club in Yellow Springs. Reports said that the company will renovate the former Miami Township fire station after the building was purchased from the Yellow Springs Development Corp. Now I want to look up the synopsis, so just give me a sec. I do have a thought about this actually. As I was reading online on one of the comments, and when I found out, actually, what I read was that their podcast is on Luminary, and the thing that kind of stuns some people is that they're charging people to watch their show, and to be honest with you, I would not even know if I want to pay $35 a year per year just to watch this show. That to me and along with certain people who feel away, I wouldn't even. I don't know. I don't know because everybody got other bills to pay and stuff like that, right? I don't really see how. I don't really see how that's really. I don't know. I don't know how that's really worth it, to be honest with you. And to basically ask somebody to just pay to watch a podcast visually, I don't know, man, because that's like that's not really for me, to be honest. So let me look up the synopsis. So the synopsis goes like this. Description: The Midnight Miracle is a thought-provoking podcast that uniquely blends the salon and variety show traditions while providing a glimpse into the inner lives of host Talib Kweli, Yasin Bey, aka Mos Def, Dave Chappelle, and friends. The Midnight Miracle was recorded during Chappelle's legendary 2020 summer camp in Yellow Springs, Ohio. All right. Um, like I said, man, I wouldn't even waste my money on it. I just stick to um what I listen to on audio streaming platforms like I always do. Saves me some money. And speaking of saving money, I'd like to talk about the double standards. I'd like to talk about the double standards in the TV and movie industry just for a sec. As you may know, in a previous episode, we may have discussed the whole situation with the whole thing with Hank Azaria and his overkill apologies, all because of the Apu character in The Simpsons, right? I want to give an example on why I feel like representation in TV and movies sometimes can be a little far of a stretch. Um, I was listening to a podcast called the Idiosyncratic Podcast by George Cruz, and now as I was listening to the episode, and he pointed out something that really kind of caught my attention. The thing about people looking for representation in TV shows and movies and stuff. Look, all that is all right, but at the same time, it's like looking for representation in every TV show and every movie that we watch and stuff like that. It gets kind of corny to me. It gets corny like macaroni, and and I'm only saying this because I don't really like too much politics on my favorite TV shows, especially what goes on in The Simpsons. And speaking of which, I do I did address this actually, and I'm not really gonna really read into this because this is like old news. But like, as I was saying, an actor is a person who plays fictional characters. In other words, they have to picture themselves in that person's situation. It's not about playing yourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's just me, man. And I'm not really into the whole idea of having. And I have to say that George Cruz is right, though. I have to agree with him because if you really think about it, though, how many times you hear about some people feel like there's no representation. You've been hearing that for years. All right. The thing is, as I previously talked about with the whole idea of having a black Superman. To be honest with you, even if you was to cast a black actor to play Superman, where's the story gonna go? That's the question. And I think sometimes, like, just because you're black or a person of color does not necessarily mean you're gonna get the role of the character. And I'm not saying this with no disrespect, but as I previously stated before, if I was a casting director, right, and I'm looking for actors that are experienced, not from the street, but but have the acting chops. Like, how many movies did you do? Like, that's what matters. The talent is what matters. It's not about your complexion. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I feel about it, though, man. And that's just how I feel about it, though. You know what I mean? Um, and before I get to the next topic, I also want to say about the whole double standard thing in TV and movies. Yes, it's important to have representation and get rid of the stereotypes and and all the craziness and stuff. But at the same time, like I previously said, you can't put actors in a box. You know what I'm saying? When you try to do that and try to put them in a particular one category, it's like there's more to an actor than just one thing. It's like I don't see nothing wrong with being a multi-talented actor. You know what I mean? Because I feel like being a multi-talented actor, whether you're doing voiceovers and stuff like that, can lead you to success. And that's just how I feel about it, though, man. So I'm gonna just go give myself an applause right now. All right. Um, our last topic of the day has to do with the sequel to Black Panther 2. So, according to people.com, now, now, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Marvel reveals the title of an anticipated sequel and release date. Now, so Marvel Studios revealed the title of the anticipated Black Panther sequel, along with several movies on Monday in a clip celebrating the studio's films. Black Panther 2, officially titled Black Panther Wakanda Forever, is a fitting title for the upcoming sequel. It's the most popular phrase from the franchise said by the late Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, often as a respectful salute and rallying cry before heading into battle. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is set to begin production in Atlanta, with director Ryan Coogler returning to helm the film. Coogler has also written the screenplay. During Disney's Investors Day, last December, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige announced that in honor of Boseman, his T'Challa role as the Wakandan superhero would not be recast. Oh, jeez. Instead, the film will explore the world of Wakanda and the rich characters introduced in the first film, Feige said. Boseman's co-star Lupita 38 spoke about the upcoming Marvel film in an interview with Yahoo Entertainment while promoting her new YouTube original animated series, Super Sema. People will ask me, are you excited to go back? Excitement isn't the word. I feel like I'm in a very pensive and meditative state when it comes to Black Panther 2. Chadwick's passing is still extremely raw for me. And I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like to step on the set and not have him there. Nyong'o said Coogler's script carefully addresses Boseman's absence after the actor died in August of last year at the age of 43 from a 4-year struggle with colon cancer. At the same time, we have a leader in Ryan who feels very much like we do, who feels the loss in a very, very real way as well. Nyong'o said. In his idea, the way which he has reshaped the second movie is so respectful of the loss we've all experienced as a cast and as a world. So Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever will be released July 8th, 2022 of next year. How about that? How about that? I can't wait to see this movie, and I know pretty much everyone else is actually excited to see that movie too. So I'm gonna just do this. Yes, everybody's excited about the new movie Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Man, as I've previously said before, it's not about replacing the person. It's about separating the fictional character of an actor versus a human being. You know what I'm saying? You gotta separate the character from the human being. Like, the character is fictional. And as human beings, we're not fictional. You get what I'm saying? And I would like to say that this has been the most amazing news that we ever had about the status of Black Panther 2. Now, at first, I didn't know what a Wakanda was when I saw the first one, but I do have an idea of what it is based on a friend of mine that explained it to me. Thank you, Notigami, and I hope that she is okay along with everything that's going on. So hopefully, in the near future, I would love to have her back. So with that being said, let me remind people about where you can follow the page of Off the Meatrack Chainz NY podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram, which is Off the Meatrack Chainz NY podcast at Gmail. Excuse me, Off the Meatrack Chainz NY podcast on Facebook and Instagram. There you go. Let's go over where you can listen to the show episodes, shall we? All right. Now, where you can listen to the episodes is on Podorama, Anchor, Spotify, Audioburst, TuneIn, Player FM, Podchaser, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, Breaker, Listen Notes. And please don't forget to listen to Author Meatrack Chainz NY New York podcast on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, the #1 app for podcasting. And last but not least, the YouTube. I need y'all to do your part to go subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is G Money Stacks 555. Click the notification bell so you can be reminded of when the show goes on the air live. And also, don't forget to leave a like and a comment of the topic episodes that we discussed.